Alright guys, so while we're finishing up GT500, I do have some, I don't even know if I've talked about the GT350 we've had for a while, but it had a ton of issues, and I'll probably make a video like once it's completely finished because I don't want to jinx myself or anything, but we've spent, I don't even know, 50, 60, 70 hours on this thing, on the GT350, trying to diagnose some issues. So probably once it's finished, which I think we might be onto something, I'll make a video on it. But anyways, to Sean's car. Originally came here completely stock. I think it just had headers and full exhaust, but originally this is like one of the first cars we worked in at the new shop. It got delivered when we were at the other shop, but we didn't start working on it until we moved into the new shop because it was literally right as we were transitioning, so we didn't want to have a car like half torn apart. So anyways, first time it came, we did full BMR suspension, Viking shocks. We did stage 2 NA cams. First time I did cams like Coyote. That's the first time like I've physically done it by myself. So so it was a good learning experience. Did cams on it, Cobra Jet manifold, PMAS intake, VMP throttle body, oil pump gears, crank sprocket, LU47s, E85, Lund tune of course. And car ran super good. Probably estimated it makes around like 500 wheel NA setup. And then he pretty much raced it around for a while, daily drove it for a long time. I wouldn't say a long time, but a few months. Ended up burning up the 10R80. So brought it back to us. We built the 10R80 here in-house, put a Circle D converter in it, and turned it back around to him pretty quick. And he enjoyed it for a while. And then of course, like the rest of us, the bug bit and he wanted boost. So he was deciding between a Whipple and a turbo. We kind of weighed the pros and cons. And he was gonna go turbo, but he ended up getting a really good deal on a used Whipple kit with a fuel system. So now it came with a nice dual return style 4 Innovations kit, which I highly recommend, which I don't have on the website yet, but I can get any 4 system. So I think I might go into this in detail in like another video because some things are gonna change around the shop. But once you start installing everyone's kit, you realize there's a reason why everyone wants you to use 4, why tuners want you to use it. Shops want you to use it. It's not, the price is definitely a little bit higher than other fuel systems, but when you start installing stuff on a daily basis, you realize why 4 is so nice. Anyways, probably another video. But anyways, 4 fuel system, I think 1050 injectors, IDs. And so anyways, so he bought the kit, waited for us to have a time slot open, and then while he was waiting, he ordered a 10 rib kit and a crank support. So I didn't know he was doing the crank support, which is a good mod to do, obviously, with doing a blower. But when the car got here, we started looking at some parts, missing like a few adapters. That's kind of why it's not done. And we're still waiting on the converter to come back too. So we're making pretty good progress on his car, considering the biggest holdup is probably going to be the converter. He did do the bigger heat exchanger, 10 rib kit, and the crank support, but I didn't know because I've never done a Whipple before. This is a learning experience for me. I've messed with blower stuff, but I haven't installed specifically a Whipple on an S550. So learning curve for me. I didn't sell him any of the Whipple stuff. I can get Whipple, but like I said, he got the Whipple used, and then I think he got a pretty good deal on the 10 rib stuff, whatever, and the crank support. But anyways, if you do a 10 rib kit with a crank support, you then have to do an alternator relocation kit, and then you have to get a shorter belt because normally the drive belt also hits the alternator. But since he has, let me show you, since he has the crank support and the 10 rib kit, you have to get a shorter belt because this belt no longer hits the alternator because the alternator gets spaced out and gets its own, this is all loose because we're mocking stuff up, but gets its own drive pulley to drive the alternator. So just, you know, forewarning, if you're doing a Whipple, this is the right way to do it, by the way. You can go pretty fast on 6 rib kits, all that good stuff, but if you want to negate all the belt slip and you want to support your crankshaft from snapping off, this is the correct way to do it. So Whipple, 10 rib kit, crank support, got to do alternator relocation bracket kit, and then you got to get a shorter belt, obviously, because it doesn't hit the alternator anymore. So, you know, I obviously, I'm biased because I always have had turbo cars literally since I was in high school. And I've had I haven't had a Whipple car, but I've had a blower car as well, obviously. But I still prefer turbos. Maybe I'll make a video on that if you guys want me to, like why I prefer turbos. But anyways, this is the right way to do it for sure. And doing the larger heat exchanger So we did also K-member, BMR K-member, which this little reservoir for the coolant for the blower actually usually mounts up, the bottom bracket usually mounts to the stock K-member, and so that doesn't fit with the BMR K-member, so we're gonna have to make a little bracket there. Then we did a 315 rear end swap from his 355s, I believe is what he had. So this car's gonna be a super badass street car. Should make, you know, 950 to 1,000 depending on what pulley we end up with. I mean, it's on a 3.5 right now, so it's gonna make some power with that one. But yeah, we are at elevation, so, you know, boost drops by about like 2 pounds here, depending on the day and the weather. But you can usually lose like 2 or 3 pounds based off where we're at here in Amarillo, Texas. But anyways, this car is going to be super badass. It's pretty cool because we've done everything on this car, and we've learned some stuff on this car, like first time building a 10 or 80, and he trusted me to do it, and it's been running pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see how it holds up with the Whipple power. Obviously, these 10 or 80s, you don't have to repeat yourself 9,000 times, but anyone that has a built 10 or 80, it doesn't matter who builds it or what special magic things they do. The problem with 10 or 80s, and this will always be the problem, is the clutches slip. Yes, there's people making 15, 16, 1700 horsepower on them. The clutches still burn up eventually. I don't know how many times I have to say that, and I repeat myself 9,000 times during the week, but only the people who have made a ton of power on a 10 or 80 can tell you that. The people that haven't done it, they're just watching everybody else do it, and yeah, it's a whole conversation. There's no reason to have an argument. Those are facts, people. I know you see cars make 16, 1700 horsepower. They burn the clutches up. Talk to anybody or go try and do it yourself. They burn up the clutches. So I think the power level he's going to be at, you know, the 950 to 1,000 range, it should hold up pretty decent. You know, obviously it'll burn up the clutches eventually, or if he's doing like a lot of trans brake, a lot of drag racing, it can burn up the clutches or can last forever. That's just part of owning a 10 or 80. So anyways, this is going to be a super badass street car. I am super excited to finish this one. And this car is really cool because, like I said, we've done literally everything on it. It wasn't at another shop before and had this, that. I think he bought the car and it already had the headers installed maybe, or they did it themselves. But other than that, like, we're the ones that did the oil pump gears and the crank sprocket, so we know that was done all correctly, no leaks or anything. We're the ones that did the cams, we're the one that timed the motor. So, you know, we did all the suspension, so I don't have to worry about somebody else's this, that, broken this, that, you know, whatever. So, anyways, really excited. I just wanted to showcase his car real quick. It's going to be pretty badass. So essentially what we're waiting on is a heater core adapter that didn't come because, you know, he bought the kit used, because we got to kick the heater core line out of the way. We mounted the heat exchanger, mounted the reservoir, did the crank support with new crank bolt, did the 10 rib accessory kit. We did the alternator relocation bracket. The Whipple's sitting on there. It's kind of just mocked up. It's not bolted down yet. Got the 3.5 pulley on there for the 10 rib. We swapped the rear end out, swapped the K-member out. I started running the power lines for the fuel system. But yeah, it's coming along pretty good. So biggest thing we're pretty much waiting on is like some small odds and ends, but the biggest thing is going to be the converter that's going to hold us up. So we sent the converter off to get restalled. I think it had like a 245 millimeter, which is typical NA converter for an S550. And we sent it off, and I think we're doing a 258 boosted converter this time. So this car should be super quick on the street. I think it's gonna be really badass, and so I'm really excited to finish this one. So just kind of want to give you guys like a little update on his car, because people may be wondering like why it was back or not, but this thing is gonna be a killer on the street. I can't wait to get this back to him and him start hurting some feelings out there. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Small update. First Whipple car in the shop. It's gonna be super badass. See you guys on the next one.